it is not. Sometimes it's figurative. Sometimes it's pointing to the past. Sometimes it's pointing to the future. Sometimes it's pointing to the present. Sometimes it's allegorical. Sometimes it's, yes, very literal. And discerning that is a challenge. And sometimes it can actually, in a sense, accomplish all of those in one passage, which I believe this one does today. Do you recognize how God described the love of God? How high and deep and long and wide, right? In a sense, it's 4 dimensions. He expands his love to us in ways that we cannot wholly understand, we can experience. And it seems to me within that framework, he can also expand the word so that he can speak to the present, the past, and the future all at the same time. And that's what's going on in John's description of Christmas. And what took place and takes place is taking place now, immediately after. Revelation 12. And again, if you've got a pen, I encourage you, please bring a pen, bring a pencil. We're going to walk through the first 5 verses only of this chapter, and there are 11 or 12 words I want you to note as we walk through. And they are the following. We're going to look at sign, it appears twice. Sun, moon, woman, dragon, hurled and seized. Sun, S-O-N, obviously sun, S-U-N, nations, scepter, and throne. It's a lot of words in 5 passages. The Lord loads this up. You're made to understand it. Revelation 12, 1 through 5. A great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in labor and agony, and she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven. There was a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on its heads were 7 crowns. Its tail swept away 1/3 of the stars in heaven and hurled them to the earth. And the dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she did give birth, it might devour the child. She gave birth to a son, a male, who is going to rule all nations with an iron rod. Her child was caught up to God and to his throne. Whew. Sign appears in verses 1 and 3. It simply means to point out something that is distinct or other than the rest. It can be a good or a bad sign, and the Old Testament will do both. Mostly it's good, but clearly you can see here, sign appears in verse 1 and 3, and the first sign is what? A woman. And the other is in verse 3, a dragon. Now, the woman is Mary. She has been mightily blessed. She's been called for an astoundingly, yes, unique role. We have pictured and described here by John. And let me just say, this isn't a story and a myth. This is absolutely what is and has been taking place in the spiritual world, and continues to as we look at a verse beyond this in about 30 minutes. Now notice how she's portrayed. A woman clothed with the sun. I love the term clothed because it means it's on. You're not just carrying it. It's not just shining down. It's on her. And God uses the term sun frequently and light to point to him, his will, his glory, his power. And so the image here is that Mary is enveloped in the very presence and glory of God. She needs to be for what she's going to face. Yeah. Now this is S-U-N. S-O-N appears later. And it's as though, and you've seen this, royalty will often wear what? A small robe or a shawl, won't they, over their shoulders? To portray the authority they have. And so this is a shawl of light. It's not made up. This isn't fantasy. This is reality behind our reality. She is bathed and clothed in light. There's another heavenly object that's referred to here. And it's one that I saw last week. Did you guys see that full moon pop up? Oh, was that rich? Yeah, we live back behind some woods, so I can't see right when it's on the horizon. We've got a big hill just to the west of us. I walk the dogs all the time. And the hill's probably 25 feet tall, maybe more. So when I come over that, I can look off to the east. Boom, French vanilla, gold, awesome moon. And I'll text my buddies in Idaho, Minnesota, Illinois. I say, hey, check it out. If you got the weather, there's a big one coming your way. Because I'm the farthest east. And so I'll see this thing. Moon is mentioned in what context? She's standing upon it. What does that mean? Moon is not used anywhere near as often as sun in the Word of God. And when it appears, it's associated with judgment. In the majority of uses and appearances of the moon, it's in the context of judgment. And not of the moon, but of us, the inhabitants of the earth. And the majority of times, that's the context. And you probably remember that Joel spoke of it, and Peter used his words when? At Pentecost. So we have the glory of God enveloping Mary, and on her head we have a crown signifying the authority and proclamation and will of the Lord with 12 stars. What does the 12 refer to? The 12 sons of Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. And so she is bathed in the will and glory of God, standing upon the moon, which says that judgment is coming. Now, we always look at judgment and we'll say, oh, that's a bad thing. No. We just heard a song where it says, well done, because we all have the opportunity to be judged by God, and he will elevate us and go, boom, you did it. Yes. Don't you want to hear that? I do. I want you to hear that. And because of this, we can. She's bathed in light. The shawl and the clothing expresses the nature of God's will, protection, provision, direction. The moon is that there's a judgment coming. And this is all within the banner of Israel. Do you recall any kind of a verse way back in the beginning of this? Way back in the beginning of that, where God says, out of you I will bring and I will bring a blessing to all nations. Genesis 12. This is a pictorial reflection of the Abrahamic covenant. Are you getting stoked? This is awesome. This is awesome. Now, what is she going to do? She's pregnant. You hope, yes, that she gives birth. And she's about to. We've adopted 3 children, and I will say, graced to be in the birthing room for one of them. Although I have to say, we had that child for a week and we had to return it. That's a crazy story some other time. Many of you obviously have given birth. Husbands, you've been there. Some of you didn't want to go anywhere near it, but you knew how difficult it was for your honey, right? You would think with being clothed in light, there'd be an aspect of power, and there clearly is. And yet, how is she described? How's she feeling? Oh, man. In pain. In agony. The literal translation for the word is torment. It's fascinating that we're looking at a spiritual reality in another dimension of heaven. And we have a woman, Mary, in the role that she's been called to fill, the birth on earth, and yes, in heaven as well. And she doesn't feel good. She feels really, really bad. Is there a verse anywhere in the beginning of that says, you will bear children in pain? In the curse. She's living out the curse while she's in heaven, giving birth to the Son of God in the spiritual realm. That's what's taking place. Even though, yes, thank goodness she's clothed with the glory and will and power of God, she is in agony. Can I just do a segue here? This is all about providing, and you don't have to think too long about it to consider that he is doing this so that you and I will not be tormented for eternity. You've been in situations where the pain, when they ask you, what's your pain? It's about a 5. I go in with Eileen. What's your pain today, Mrs. Bainey? 7. What's your pain today, Eileen? 8. What's your pain today? What kind of pain is this? 10. And it's a fulfillment of the curse as a result of the fall. And it's still taking place in heaven. That's astounding. And those that would say Mary became something else and never died, please, again, this is showing you there are aspects to her humanity that were clearly maintained even in the heavenly realm. What an amazing woman. I've said it before. The line to talk to her is going to be 1,000,000 miles long, and we won't care if we're waiting because we're singing all kinds of good stuff while we're going through the line. Now, what is opposing her? We kind of make fun of it. Kathy, can you show us a dragon? That's kind of nasty. Now, there are actually words in the book of Job and elsewhere that point to what's believed to be a dragon or a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yes, those things are out there. You probably know about that, right? Okay. This is not, these are fantastical images. Show the next. Look at that. He's a red dragon, fiery. I don't know why red is put here, although that's about the only thing that seems to be in line with our general usual Christmas story. There's not a whole lot else here that's like Santa, but it's red. Now we have one more, right, Kathy? Yeah, you know what that's from? Disney. Sleeping Beauty. If you watch that, Walt was onto it. He portrayed a satanic image out of that confrontation. Make no mistake, it's good and evil in the movie. Big, big, bad dragon. We've had some dragons. I think one of the most famous, if you will, is Smog. Remember from the Tolkien books? He was a bad dude. He had that one little scale that's where the arrow went, thank goodness. We've had some amazing cinematic portrayals of dragons in the last few years, fighting, some winning. This isn't Pete the Friendly Dragon. This isn't How to Train Your, which is a really pretty good story, you know. How to Train Your Dragon, right? Isn't it Nightwing, the black guy? That's a good story. That's not this. This is pure personified evil. And we'll get into just how stinking evil he is. Now, we don't have the portrayal here, but it says that he had 7 heads, 10 horns, and on his heads were 7 crowns. There's debate over the numerology here. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds. It's really cool and fun to talk about, but I don't want to get off the main point. God has put Mary forward to deliver a child so that we can be saved, and it's confronted by Satan, who fell from heaven, who doesn't want you to be saved. So we have this 7 heads and 10 horns. I don't know are there 3 on the main dragon, 7, 1 on each? I don't know. And again, there are different theories as to what the numbers are. I can tell you this, horns in the Bible always mean power. This is to be intended and personified and projected as the ultimate force against God in the entire realm. Right here. Now, the CSB does a wonderful job, but I believe there is one error here, and it's in verse 3. And on its heads were 7 crowns. The word literally is diadem. And I always thought diadem meant jewel. It does not. It means a turban. You've seen them. More often we see crowns on royalty, but some wear turbans. Turbans were the second level of authority, so the 7 heads had a wrapped turban on it, denoting they are nothing to be trifled with, but they are subservient to the red dragon. And he's opposed by the will of God as expressed through the Abrahamic covenant under Israel, and now through Mary, and a child in agony and torment is about to be born. Now there's a neat, really cool detail we'll just segue off and come back to. And that's verse 4. Its tail, meaning the dragons, swept away 1/3 of the stars in heaven and hurled them to the earth. This is referring to 1/3 of the original angelic host. The word hurled is one of force, undeniable force. The implication here is that Satan didn't wrest them from God, but if it was a matter of disgust or anger or and again, it looks at the dragon's doing the acting, not God, but they are hurled, grabbed, and just smashed to the earth, taken from the heavenly realm, hurled with great force out, 1/3 of all the angels that God created. You guys have been spending time with angels. It's really interesting. And we could go off for a while. You know what? Angels and these, then what they became demons, appear all over the Bible. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. John, not so much. John's perspective is one of an overarching, dynamic power and cosmic confrontation at the upper echelon. The other writers would refer to the pieces and people and characters within the conflict. John only mentions demonic, actually, influence later in the book. He doesn't talk about demons here. But it's clear we have this action of grabbing and somehow hurling them to the earth. 2/3 remain with the Lord, 1/3 subservient to Satan. Peter, Jude, and Paul refer to demons and demonic activity. John really doesn't. Again, he speaks of an overarching cosmic battle. And we're seeing one play out right here at the first Christmas. Just what is it that big dragon wants to do? It's repulsive. It is. It wants to eat the baby. There's no other way to put it. He wants to eat the baby. Devour. Disgusting, repulsive, and yet it demonstrates the ultimate act of submission and conquering of a foe. Look back in history. What did some of the creepiest, most evil people do when they subjected someone? They held them down and ripped their heart out and took a bite out. And that's a shadow of this ugliness. He wants to eat the Son of God. Eliminate him. Remove him so you can't be blessed by him. It's disgusting. It's real. The imagery and the activity of this devouring appetite of Satan is furthered by Peter. What does Peter do? How does he describe the present activity of Satan when he refers to him in an animal figure? He's a lion looking to devour you. Guy's got an eating problem. Real disorder. It's not fantasy. Satan wanted to eat Jesus, and he's been given reign at time on the planet to eat you, your friends, your children, your family, your community, this church. You know, I used to do it more. When we first, years ago, you get Animal Planet and National Geo, and I remember watching Shark Week, right? And I didn't have to see too many of those poor seals get hit by a great white and boom, go up in the air and oh, gee whiz. I'm glad it was over real quick. But I saw some others where seals were chased, by orcas or shucks. And I've seen the carnivores take down other things, and they don't kill them quick. Lions suffocate their prey. Big Cat Week. Whew. It's simply a fractional reflection of the horror of the truth that Satan wanted to devour Jesus, and he's actively trying to do the same to you right now. And we saw a man at the time do his best to serve him. And his name was Herod. What was his plan? Well, let's make sure we get all the kids. Let's just cut a 2-year swath out of that area and take them all out. Put them on a spit, slice them up, get them out of there. Because he wanted to kill and devour, in a sense, yes, Jesus. I'm not saying Herod wanted to cannibalize Jesus, but he was moving within the plan of Satan to take him out. And God said through a dream, Joseph, here's where you should go. Now, keep going because verse 5 is wonderful. We've read the upside, we've read the dark side, have the culmination here of the scene in verse 5. She gave birth to a son, thank God, a male who's going to do what? Rule Judea. No, he's going to rule the Middle East. He's going to rule the people that are really nice. He's going to rule the people that go to church. He's going to rule the people that give a tithe. He's going to rule all nations. And again, it points to what? The Abrahamic covenant. God's provision initially was to bless all. And it's doubled down on here in John's revelation of this horrific encounter. With an iron rod. Now, rod is literal. It just meant a long tubular thing that rulers would hold and they decorate them. You know, I don't know if you've seen, you go back to even World War II, Hermann Goering would have these diamond, scepters to kind of walk around. He's in charge of the Luftwaffe. He's got this big thing with jewels on it. I'm the guy. Hitler never seemed to carry one, but his other guys did. But it came out of history. Royalty would carry and wield a scepter, ornamental scepter that signified their power, and an iron one at this time would signify the ultimate. And so what we see here is God has a plan, yes, for Son, S-O-N, Jesus, to rule all nations, thank God, with an iron rod, the ultimate authority. Now, this is really sweet. Check this out. Her child was, what does it say? Caught up. Do you see that? CSB says caught up. That's a synonym to hurled, which we saw the dragon do a couple verses ago. They mean the same thing, except the nuance here is that was forcefully just boom. This is, I got you and you are safe. Totally enveloped within the will and undeniable power of God against the most disgusting living being of evil. He took them and you don't have my son. It's all good. And sets him on the throne. And that throne is referred to in the book of Acts, in Ephesians, Hebrews, and 3 times in the vision that the Lord gave John. Rest easy. He's on the throne. He's on the throne. So John paints a very different nativity, does he not? Can you show that green screen shot, Kathy? You see, Charlotte, why you've got the green little, you got to check out her dress. It's this cool thing. Now, I'm not saying you're a green screen actor. It's beautiful. But I saw it and I like, wait, what does this do? It creates illusions. What they do is they have sensors on the actor, and the camera picks up the movement, and then engineers and AI put what? imagery behind it so that you can create the illusion that these people are Iron Man flying through the sky. One of my favorite movies. Tony Stark did not do that. Tony's a character. Actually, is Robert Downey. And so AI and CGI will create all these incredible images, and sometimes it's stunts, it's superheroes, whatever, and it's illusion. And it's, it can't be anywhere near as much fun to act now, because in the past you'd really do it. Now you're, okay, I'm in front of the screen, and then you go back and look later. But that's in contrast, please. This is real. There's not a green screen in this book. The only censors here are those in the Lord's heart to know what sin is and how grievous it is for his children to have it unforgiven. And that's why I got my son, and you're not going to touch him. Things continue. Go down to the latter portion of this chapter, 12. Look at verse 17, if you will. So the dragon was furious. He's been denied his meal. The dragon was furious with the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring. Who could that be? The rest of her offspring. It describes it. Those who keep the commandments of God and hold firmly to the testimony about Jesus. That sounds like you. It sounds like children from Israel who have come to see the Messiah for who he is. And it sounds like a Gentile who's come to the realization that he can grasp salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. So we're in a war. Oh, shucks, I thought that big scene was done. That one's done. God has allowed this to continue, and he's ticked. Because he did not thwart the plan of God. He did not take Jesus out. God has given him reign. He actually prowls looking to devour you, and churches like us, and people, men, women, and kids like you, to deny you the fruit of Mary's womb and God's plan. And it can happen if you don't believe this. And some would say, Tom, what, you got to scare everybody into salvation? Yeah, sometimes I'm motivated to avoid fear. Can I tell you what, though? The blessing that he provides is immeasurable. And I'm looking at a room of people that have tasted it, and they're hungry to give it more. Are you not? Come on. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Because you're hungry to do more. He made you to do more. You have aspects to your past. We celebrate it. We're grateful. And yet, like everybody, we reflect, and we're in a time. Transition is nothing more than the salvific process of growing as a Christian. I constantly look at myself. Okay, Lord, let me disengage from that. Let me magnify this. Let me avoid that. Let me taste and give voice to that. Let me live that. Don't you do that? I do. And the churches that are dynamic and moving have the blessing and the vision of their pastor and leadership to constantly be doing that. Don't sweat it. Whatever was in the past, here's where we are now. We want more because he has called you to be more. And it's not up to you. It's up to him moving through us. He's got the victory already. But Satan's been given some time to put a dent. We're not going to be a dent. Are we? No. So we could sit here and we could say, oh, go God, hallelujah, praise God. Let me sit down and watch this. And I know some of you at your age, that's what you're doing. And yet I've talked to you, some of you seniors, I see a love for the Lord. I see a love for this church. I see a love for God, His Word. And you in that still have His power to move and change and shape this church and lives around you. Some of you have more energy, more inclination, and are gifted in different ways. We're going to find that out, and we're going to multiply that. Because it's His plan for you, Grassland. It's His plan. Healthy ministries constantly evaluate, adapt, and change. Churches do that. Individuals do that. Don't ever say we're a dying church. We're a church in transition. We're a church in transition. And it's His desire for us to be united upon the things that we transition to. Look at the stakes. Look at the stakes. This crazy confrontation of a dragon is real. A lion prowling, looking to devour is real. And yet, what did Jesus say to Peter? The gates of hell shall not prevail, church. Come on. Own this. He seized His Son. He has seized you. Let's go. Let's go. Wherever He wants us to. We're going to finish with a hymn. And I got a hold of Jim this week. And by the way, Tim, that was a perfect song. Well done. Because that's what we want here, is to go through this battle and stand and say as a church, well done, Grassland. But I looked around, and immediately as I prayed, like the words of this hymn came to me, and I thought, oh, this is our closing hymn. Now, sometimes we'll do an altar call. Sometimes I stand. Here's what I'm going to ask you today. And we've done this twice, but listen. Satan knows who you are. So does the Lord Jesus. Satan knows what Grassland was and is. And Jesus knows who you are and also knows what you can be. What if we became a church that in 5 years said, hey, is there someone else around here that needs to be revived? Let us step in and give you a hand. So we're going to sing a song today, and I'm going to ask you to come forward. And Rose, if you got a cane, we'll wait for you. Because we're going to sing a song you know, and it's going to exemplify the very things of truth given to us by the amazing man John, where he wants us strengthened under the totally dynamic, unyielding power of Jesus Christ. We're going to sing that song in closing today. Please come up and join me, please.
Let's stand together as we sing, please.